and welcome to the Alberta Council of Disability Services Accreditation Webinar Series. My name is Corinne Thomas. Before we start, I'd like to let you know that the notes for this presentation are available on the ACDS website. In addition, feel free to pause the video at any time should you want some independent discussion. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the Outcomes versus Outputs presentation. My name is Corinne Thomas and I want to take the next 10 minutes or so and talk to you about what CET surveyors look for in terms of outcomes when they come and do a CET site review. In simple terms, an outcome is something that follows an action. It is the so what, or the end result, or the impact of an activity. Evaluation is the process of determining the worth or value of something, so for example that activity. Many people focus on the activity, and I'm going to use the example of an individual going swimming and use that as their outcome, but really that is just the activity. So what we're looking for is the end result, or what is the impact of that individual going swimming. So the outcome might be that they are independent in transportation and are able to get there by themselves, that they have learned many management skills because they have to save money to be able to go swimming, as well as look at the transaction part of paying for swimming. Going swimming on a regular basis, they are developing friends and contacts because they go there on a regular basis, as well as their health is improved because they are swimming on a regular basis. So therefore, outcome evaluation measures to what degree a program objectives have been achieved, so the effectiveness of these activities. It compares the individuals before the activity and then after the activity and see what improvements have been made. These are 3 questions that will help determine what an outcome is or work with you in terms of outcome evaluation. So what outcomes have come about because of the training staff have received, for example? Another example might be how much change can be seen now that an individual has started their own business, selling their own artwork? Or what extent can change be attributed to the introduction of new training modules? So these are the questions that you want to consider and ask. So what is the purpose of outcome evaluation? Organizations use this information to give them an idea of how they're doing in their quality improvement efforts. They need to assess how they are doing as an organization as a whole, but also breaking it down into smaller components as well. Every level of an organization is able to provide some insight and provide information that can be used in their quality improvement efforts. This is usually in the form of data collection. It's the easiest way to be able to gather and compile this information. But every level of the organization needs to look at this. So it's not just about the individuals and their service plans. It's also an evaluation of programs and services of the whole organization and the system, which might be the sector, that kind of thing. There are many reasons that organizations buy into outcomes and outcome evaluation, but the top 2 seem to be for greater accountability and for improved program quality. Organizations may be doing this because it's a requirement of the funder or because of an accreditation requirement. But regardless, it is important to ensure that organizations are investing the time and energy in the right way to get the results that will benefit them overall and ensure that they meet their goals and objectives that match their mission, vision, and values. So why do we need to know what an outcome is? We need to know this because we want to move away from just thinking about outcomes to focus on identifying and naming the outcomes, because that is what moves an organization forward to provide excellent quality service to the individuals that you support, which is why we're all here. So we need to change our focus from how we do something or what we are doing to why we are doing it. It helps everyone involved be able to focus on a common goal and move in a common direction. Sometimes it might be beneficial to focus on and identify the outcome first and then move backwards in terms of identifying the outcomes and outputs that will move you towards that outcome. So what does this mean for surveyors? While surveyors could ask guardians or staff about an impact about an activity that the individual participates in, but they're not going to necessarily understand what specifically the surveyors are looking for. So during the conversation as well as after the conversation, surveyors are challenged to think about this on their own and take time to develop possible answers in terms of the impact, which will then lead to further conversations with the service provider, and that is what's going to go into the final report. So surveyors are taught to look at the outcome statement or the title of a CET standard and focus on that when they're looking at the activities and outputs that have been identified in their conversations. And this in turn helps them identify what potential impacts could be, and again leads to those additional conversations which then will be outlined in the final report. ACDS promotes service quality indicators that focus not just on the output, but on the big picture. Quality services will lead to quality outcomes and quality of life that is the best it can be for the individuals. So when trying to determine possible outcome statements, I would suggest looking at the outcome statement or title of the CET standards, looking at the supports intensity scale or the SIS, or the personal outcomes index POI, as I know organizations are using that to help build their outcome statements as well. So what is the difference between an output and an outcome? An output is a tangible result, usually what you can see and be able to count. So for example, it's the number of staff trained, the number of individuals that have jobs, an updated website. But when we're talking about outcomes, we're looking at the change or the impact because of those outputs. So for examples, the number of staff trained provides a better quality service to the individuals. Because individuals have jobs, individuals are more independent, they have natural supports and are included and are able to participate in the community and have a sense of belonging. Because of an updated website, more people are interested in your organization, and that might help with fundraising efforts. Now, activities and outputs are definitely necessary when looking at outcomes. So if you're having difficulty identifying outcomes, or if surveyors are having difficulty identifying outcomes, writing down or identifying the outcomes and the outputs are definitely going to help move towards figuring out those outcomes. So I'm going to take you through a couple of examples right now of what we're looking for in terms of activities, outputs, and outcomes. So for an example, an activity or activities that an individual participates in are community-based with other people. They include opportunities to develop entrepreneurial skills and share his interest and talent in art. So he's going somewhere on a regular basis where he's learning about art, where other people that are interested in art go, and he's making friendships and has a real sense of belonging in this activity. So the output is that there is a place where he can go on a regular basis, where he can work on his art, where he can learn new skills, work with people with similar interests, as well as get the support to develop his skills and get better at art. He's also able to organize his own art show to display and sell his art. So what is the outcome? Is this individual is included in a community where he participates and has a sense of belonging and connection to others. Another example is around a staff perspective. So the service provider has outlined mandatory and complementary training. Another activity is that staff take this training as part of their orientation. So the outputs identified is that 95% of staff have taken the mandatory training as well as the relevant complementary training. As well, another output is that staff are able to show the proficiency and competency, so that understanding, and are able to use the training that they've taken in their jobs to provide better service to the individuals. As well, they have to participate in written and verbal assessments. So the outcome in this scenario is that staff are qualified to work with individuals with complex needs. This is just a couple of examples that I hope will help you understand better what CET is looking for when it talks about outcomes. So thank you for being a part of this presentation on outcomes versus outputs. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to email us. Thank you and good luck as you prepare for CET.